Hi and welcome to Dania Accounting. My name is Anna. In this video, I will talk about how to deduct your home office in your personal income tax in Denmark. First of all, in order to deduct your home office in your personal income tax, you must change the physical appearance of the office. The tax office will ask what you have in this home office. For example, if you have a 3-room apartment and you use one of the rooms for a home office, in order to receive a deduction, it must be physically changed. If the office's physical appearance has not changed, you cannot take a deduction. However, there is no 100% clear definition of the changes you must make, and different people at the tax office may have different interpretations of the specifications. To one tax inspector, changing the physical appearance may not mean simply putting in a desk, office chair, a bookshelf, and books relating to the business. Machines and special furniture that are not used in a private residence could be considered a physical change. It could also be actual installations you need to make, like a mechanic workshop that can change the physical appearance of the room. However, this is a seldom case for a typical client. Whether or not it looks like a normal office, tax inspectors may decline your deduction depending upon their own personal interpretation. In addition, you must use the office a certain length of time in order for the deduction to be approved. It's not enough that you spend a couple of evenings a week in the office. Although, again, there is no 100% clear definition. 5 to 8 hours per day should be sufficient. Again, experience with the tax office has shown that approval is largely dependent upon the inspector. Your deduction will be different if you rent your apartment and house instead of owning it. If you rent, we look at the surface area of your lease and then we calculate how much percentage of this area is used for the business. In order to calculate this, you can take a drawing of your lease and mark off how much of the space is actually used as an office, in order to determine how much to deduct. For instance, if you are renting a 100 square meter apartment and 10 square meters are used for the office, 10% of the lease is used for the business. We must look at the costs, rent, electricity, heating, etc. relating to your apartment house to determine how much to deduct. In the example we made earlier, with a 100 square meter apartment and a 10 square meter home office, you are allowed to deduct 10% in tax, and you are also allowed to deduct VAT, 10% of the VAT if the home office is 10%. The deduction is always relative to the business usage of your apartment or house. Water is another expense that may only be approved for deduction if its usage directly relates to the business. For instance, a hairdresser might use the home office to cut a client's hair, so water usage would normally be approved in this scenario. Once you've gathered all the relevant bills, you must deduct the percentage of the home office from the total expenses, in our example, from above 10%. When you own a property in Denmark and you pay a mortgage to the bank, you also pay interest for it. In terms of these costs relating to the mortgage itself, you cannot make any deductions for your home office, as the mortgage and interests are considered a private cost. However, the interests are deducted from your personal tax already. In addition to the mortgage, you also pay a property tax as an owner, which is called eiendomsskatt in Danish. You normally have 2 installments to pay annually. When it comes to property tax, if you use less than 10% of your property for the business, then you are not allowed to receive a deduction. If you use 25% and above of the property as home office, you can take a deduction of the property tax you've paid in your company as a cost. For example, If you've paid 10,000 Danish krones in property tax and you use 25% of your property for a home office, then you can deduct 2,500 Danish krones from your personal tax, but you should also add to your company costs. The tricky part is, if you use 10 to 24% of the property for a home office, then you can only deduct this part of the property tax as the capital gain deduction. This deduction is not given in your personal income or in your company's revenue, but rather as a capital gain deduction, which is a special field of the tax declaration. In Denmark, when you do this capital gain deduction, you don't get 100% deduction, but more like a third. So if you pay 50% in tax and deduct 1,500 Danish krones as the capital gain deduction, then you are not going to get 750 Danish krones in tax refund, because the 1,500 Danish krones will not have that much power as the tax deduction. It's only measured at around a third, so the 1,500 Danish krones becomes a tax deduction of around 500 Danish krones. If you use 15% of your property as a home office and you pay 50% in tax, then you end up receiving a tax discount of 250 Danish krones. Another tax you pay in Denmark for your property is called property value tax, ejendomsværdeskat in Danish. This is not something that you pay individually. It's included in the normal income tax you pay. You can always deduct a partial amount of property value tax if you have a home office. Even if you use only 5% of your home as a home office, you can still receive a 5% partial deduction for this tax. On the tax declaration, you must write the percentage of the home area you use for home office and how many days you've had it. When you do that, then you'll automatically receive a tax deduction. Keep in mind that if you are only registered for owing 50% of the property, then your husband or wife should do the same, because they are also eligible to receive this discount. If you are an owner, the maintenance on your apartment or house, like painting or fixing the heater, is the next potentially relevant deduction. If you use less than 10% for business, then you are not allowed to take any deductions on maintenance. But if you use more than 10%, then you are allowed to take a partial deduction equivalent to the usage for business. So, if you use 20% of your property for business, for example, and you need to paint the office, then you're allowed to take 20% deduction for both the VAT and tax. You may take a partial deduction for everything relating to maintenance. We also deduct the utility bills like insurance on the house and chimney cleaner, as we would for the rentals, according to the percentage used for business. However, as an owner, the tax office may only approve these deductions if you use around 25 or more of your home as your home office. Again, this depends on the inspector. Electricity and water have separate rules and are not included in this type of deduction. For electricity, normally the tax office accepts a partial deduction, regardless of the percentage you're using for business. So, if you are using 10% for business, normally they will approve a 10% tax deduction and VAT deduction of your electricity bill. No minimums here. For water, the rules are similar to rentals. Normally, they'd like to see that you actually use water for your business, and the home office must be at least 10% of the property in order to deduct the water bills. You also receive a partly VAT deduction, and you can deduct a certain amount of every cubic meter of water you use, an extra VAT deduction. In 2020, it's been 6.18 Danish krones per cubic meter of water, deducted directly on the VAT declaration. But this can change, so make sure you have the updated amounts. You are not allowed to deduct new installations for your business, like new air conditioning unit, water heater, oven, etc. If you have a home office, have a chat with us about it. Very few clients actually fulfill the criteria of making a physical change to their apartment or house, which is the first challenge. If you have any questions about your home office, then please don't hesitate to contact us. You can email us using the mail info@daniaaccounting.com, or you can call us at international code 45 70 27 27 13. Also, you can use our chat or the contact form on our website daniaaccounting.com. Thank you for watching our video. We look forward to help you.